In the quiet city of Oxford, England, a man named Lord Asriel arrives at a college with an infant in his arms, asking an old colleague to protect her. His colleague insists that this place was not for a baby, but Lord Asriel leaves, repeatedly reminding him to protect the baby. 12 years pass, and that baby, now a young girl named Lyra, grows up within the college walls. One day, as she plays with her friend Roger, the two sneak into a crypt and talk about what forms their demons might eventually settle into. She talks about her animal companion, a shape-shifting creature tied to her soul. Far away in the snow-covered mountains, Asriel is caught in a blizzard. While seeking shelter, he makes a startling discovery. Back at the college, Lyra slips away from her tutor, Charles, to see Asriel, who has just returned from his journey. At the same time, the college master, Karn, sits in his office, nervously tampering with a bottle of liquor while examining a strange golden instrument. Watching secretly from a window, Lyra sees Asriel nearly drink the spiked liquor before she rushes in and warns him. After the tension fades, Asriel gives her a secret mission: keep an eye on the master. He then hides her in the room as an important and private meeting begins. Standing before an intrigued audience, Asriel presents his research, starting with a mysterious substance known as dust, something that seems to cling only to adults. But it's his second image that truly captures attention. A photo of the northern lights revealing what appears to be a hidden city in the sky. He supports this claim with a grim piece of evidence found frozen in the Arctic, a severed head identified as Grumman's. His revelations are bold but persuasive, earning him the backing he needs for more expeditions. Elsewhere, danger creeps into the city. During a sacred ceremony meant to bond a boy named Tony with his demon, things take a sinister turn. His younger brother Billy is abducted. Back at the college, Asriel brings Lyra to her quarters. Meanwhile, Master Karn discusses an ancient prophecy. It speaks of Lyra's future and a pivotal betrayal she will be part of. Sadly, both Karn and the librarian realize they are powerless to prevent what's coming. The next day, Asriel departs in his airship. Lyra can do nothing but watch him vanish into the sky. Left behind, she returns to the college. At the same time, Farder Coram and John Fa confirm that terrifying rumors about child snatchers called gobblers are indeed true. Back in her room, Lyra and Roger are sitting, plotting to go to the north. Lyra reassures him that whatever happens, they will leave to the north soon. Not long after, Marissa Coulter arrives, offering Lyra a place as her assistant. She also insists that Roger accompany them when they leave the next morning, an offer Lyra hesitantly accepts. As morning arrives, Master Karn privately hands Lyra the mysterious golden compass, warning her that Marissa Coulter may not be as trustworthy as she appears. He shows her how to use the device, explaining that it reveals the truth to those who can read it. With this new knowledge, Lyra starts looking for Roger, unaware that a gobbler, disguised as a wolf-like creature, had been prowling the area during the night. Meanwhile, John Fea decides to end the search for Billy in the immediate area, but promises to widen the search to London, hoping for better chances. Lyra, still desperate to find Roger, chooses to leave with Coulter in hopes the journey might bring her closer to him. Aboard the airship, she sits across from Coulter, while the woman's demon watches Lyra closely, its gaze drifting toward her pocket where the compass is hidden. As they soar toward the city, the Egyptians also begin their own journey to the capital. Elsewhere, Roger is shown to be alive, though in captivity, as he is taken further away. Lyra arrives in London, amazed by the grand apartment Marissa Coulter has arranged for her. As Lyra begins to settle into this new life, far away, Roger is brought into a bleak facility where he joins other children who have also been taken by the gobblers. Marissa introduces Lyra to her world, taking her out to new places. She then starts encouraging her to let go of thoughts about Roger. She insists that the best people are already searching for him, and that Lyra must focus on learning how to hold power the way she does. Meanwhile, the Egyptians make it to London as well. John Faya leads a determined effort to track down the missing children, searching through abandoned buildings and former gobbler hideouts. Their search pays off when they discover Billy's clothes left behind at one of the sites. However, the children are no longer there. As Lyra is shaped to fit the polished image Marissa desires, back at the college, Dr. Karn faces pressure. Boreal confronts him with questions about Dust and Azriel's expedition. Meanwhile, Marissa starts tutoring Lyra, but Lyra is distracted. Lyra then mentioned Dust and Coulter got suddenly interested and asked how she knew about it, but Lyra brushes it off. At the same time, the Egyptians go to Billy's mother, Ma Costa, and give her the cloth they found, confirming that he had been taken by the gobblers. Back at the apartment, things begin to feel uneasy. One night, Lyra hears unsettling sounds and decides to investigate. Opening a door, she spots Marissa's demon lying strangely far from her, a detail that shouldn't be possible. When Lyra questions it, Marissa quickly dismisses her, claiming she imagined it. Still, her anger at being caught suggests there's more to the situation than she lets on. Boreal's search for answers leads him deep into the crypts and then beyond the walls of the college, where he stumbles across something unexpected. A portal that opens into the crowded streets of modern-day London. Back at Marissa's place, Father MacPhail, a figure of authority from the Magisterium, pays a visit. Marissa tells Lyra to stay in her room, but curiosity gets the better of her. She listens in from behind the door and overhears the adults speaking in hushed tones about Dust. After Father MacPhail left, tensions came to a head when Marissa's demon lashed out at Pan, Lyra's demon. The confrontation pushes Marissa past her limits, and in a moment of rage, she lets slip a long-hidden truth. Asriel isn't Lyra's uncle, he's her father. Back in her room, Lyra sits quietly with the golden compass in her hands, asking it the question after question in hopes of uncovering the truth. But when no answers come, frustration takes over, and she angrily tosses it aside. Unknown to her, the moment her eyes are closed, the needle slowly begins to shift on its own. Meanwhile, in a very different version of London, Lord Boreal continues his search for answers. Crossing over into our world, he speaks to a contact who's familiar with demons and asks for help tracking down Azriel. Believing Azriel may have crossed between worlds, Boreal grows more certain he's not far off. Later, Lyra once again brings up Roger, pressing Marissa for information. Marissa insists he's not really missing, but the claim falls flat. Even Pan, Lyra's demon, starts to wonder if Marissa ever intended to search for him at all. Not trusting her anymore, Lyra begins crawling through the ventilation system, trying to uncover anything Marissa might be hiding while she's away from the apartment. While this is happening, Marissa goes to the place where the lost children are being kept. She pays a visit to their facility, praising the children for their bravery and telling them they'll be traveling soon. Billy and Roger are among them. She encourages them to write home. Roger naturally chooses Lyra as his recipient. At the same time, Lyra breaks into Marissa's private study. While searching through the room, she finds detailed plans leading to a location called the Station, the place where the missing children are being taken. That evening, a lavish party is held, and Lyra is tasked with serving drinks. Boreal returns from the other world and meets with Marissa, confirming that they are working together. Among the guests is a journalist who quietly pulls Lyra aside and reveals the truth. Marissa is behind the gobblers. Hearing this, Lyra makes her escape. She grabs the compass and slips outside, while Boreal confronts the journalist, violently killing her demon and silencing her forever. The kidnapped children are loaded up and sent off toward the north, and on the streets of London, Lyra is suddenly grabbed by a stranger and pulled away into the unknown. Lyra's kidnapping turns out to be a rescue, as her captors are actually Egyptians sent to protect her. Back in Oxford, Marissa confronts Dr. Karn, demanding to know where Lyra has gone. He refuses to cooperate, and in frustration, she and Boreal ransack the college in search of clues. Reunited with John Fa and the rest of the group, Lyra finds herself among allies. John Fa questions her about the gobblers, but Lyra keeps most of what she knows to herself, though she does reveal one major truth. Azriel isn't her uncle, but her father. Eventually, she agrees to stay with them for the time being. Before long, Boreal gets word that police have been dispatched to retrieve Lyra from the Egyptians. Wasting no time, he slips back through the portal and returns to the human world. Meanwhile, Lyra is brought face to face with a captured gobbler. After driving to a quiet meeting point, Boreal connects with his informant, who shares a new lead. The person Boreal is chasing may have crossed over from this world into the one with demons. Armed with this information, Boreal sets off again, Back with Lyra and Farder Coram, the interrogation is cut short when warning horns sound in the distance. Officers from the Magisterium are raiding the ship. Lyra narrowly avoids capture by hiding under a sink, holding her breath until the danger passes. Once it's safe, Ma Costa comes to where Lyra is to tell her to go out. Lyra angrily runs out, angered by what is happening. She is frustrated that no one is telling her why Marissa is looking for her. During this, Ma Costa suddenly reveals that Marissa is her mother. Later, John Faw and the other leaders regroup. With the Gobblers heading north and time running out, they begin to make plans for a counterattack. The Western King declares it's time to gather their forces and bring the children back, no matter the cost. That night, Tony and Benjamin sneak into Marissa Coulter's apartment, hoping to steal documents linking her to the Gobblers. But their mission quickly falls apart. Marissa hears them and comes out armed. Tony manages to flee across the rooftop, but Benjamin is cornered. Rather than be captured and risk revealing information, he takes his own life. Elsewhere, Lyra shares the golden compass with Farder Coram, trusting him enough to reveal its existence. He explains the meanings behind its many symbols, and tells her that mastering it takes years of study. But Lyra, unwilling to wait, decides to try anyway. Alone with Pan, she focuses intently on the dials, and to her surprise, the compass needle begins to move. It slowly swings over to an image, an hourglass with a skull, hinting at something dark and urgent to come. As Lyra rushes outside to share her discovery with Farder Coram, she's suddenly attacked by two spy flies, mechanical creatures designed to track and capture. The Egyptians manage to trap one, but the other escapes. At the same time, Tony returns from his mission with stolen documents that expose the Gobblers' activities. He also brings grim news: Benjamin didn't make it back. With the truth in hand and their destination set, they head toward the north, determined to uncover what's happening to the missing children. Elsewhere, Boreal pays a visit to Marissa. He questions her about the Egyptians' interest in her, but she avoids giving a clear answer, hinting instead that she still has an advantage left to play. Before they can speak further, the surviving spy fly returns, landing in her hand. Its presence signals that Lyra's trail has been found. High above the icy landscape, a massive hot air balloon floats silently, piloted by Lee Scoresby. From the sky, he tracks the movement of Lyra and the Egyptians as their ship nears its destination. Upon arrival, both the balloon and the ship dock, and talk quickly spreads about the presence of dangerous armored bears in the region. Farder Coram takes a moment to speak with Lyra about the compass, hoping for insight, but their conversation is cut short when they notice members of the Magisterium nearby. Deciding to avoid unwanted attention, they head together to meet the Witch Consul, hoping he can point them toward the missing children. When they arrive, Lyra uses the golden compass to prove herself, persuading Dr. Lensalus to reveal the location of Iorek Burnison, a massive, fearsome polar bear who once ruled with pride but now lives in exile. Following this, Farder Coram and Lyra set out to find Iorek Burnison, but when Lyra asks for his help, he refuses. Meanwhile, Marissa finds herself under fire from the Magisterium for acting out of turn. As punishment, she is stripped of her authority. Unfazed, she counters with bold confidence, revealing that Lord Asriel is imprisoned in a facility controlled by armored bears she claims to command. She promises to return with Asriel in exchange for certain favors. Back in town, Lee causes a stir at the local tavern by asking about an armored bear. The crowd responds with cold, hostile stares, and tensions rise quickly. When things get physical, Lee holds his own in a chaotic fight before being thrown out onto the street. Using her newfound power, Marissa asks who Lyra is. Even when she is met with resistance, she demands to know about her. Meanwhile, Lee stumbles upon Lyre while he is looking for the bear, but Lyre refuses to tell him where the bear is, thinking he might take him from them. Later that night, Lee finds the bear himself and offers to help. It becomes clear they share a history, and Lee promises to reunite Iorek with his stolen armor. After this, Lee tries to get the armor back, but he is told that the armor is now owned by Magisterium, and Lorek is paying a blood debt. An argument ensues, and Lee storms out of the place. As news of Azriel's capture reaches the Egyptians, Lyra begs John Fa to let Iorek join their cause. Aware of the dangers they face, she turns to Lee for more information. He explains how important Iorek's armor is to him, that it's as vital to the bear as a demon is to a human. Motivated by this, Lyra seeks out Iorek once again. With the guidance of the compass, she manages to convince him to recover his armor and stand with them in the fight to come. After reclaiming his armor, Iorek charges through town, ready to take revenge on those who wronged him. But before things spiral out of control, Lee arrives just in time and persuades the bear to stand down. With tensions high, they reunite with the Egyptians, who, despite their doubts, allow both Lee and Iorek to join their cause. As allies slowly come together, preparing for the battle that lies ahead, Marissa makes a bold move of her own. She climbs into the remote mountains to meet with King Iofor, the ruler of the armored bears. There, she offers him something tempting, an official place within the magisterium's ranks, a kind of spiritual baptism, in return for destroying Asriel's work and keeping him imprisoned. The king considers the offer. Lyra's prophecy begins to unfold through a voice that narrates her fate. Alongside her, there's a boy named William, whose path is intertwined with hers, though he remains largely a mystery. As Lyra and the Egyptians continue their journey north, Lee lies on the remnants of his balloon, now being transported north by the Egyptians. From a distance, Boreal watches the boy, William, seemingly linked to the greater events that are unfolding. Lyra, using the golden compass, tries to understand the presence of the native people in the area, but the compass gives her a sense of looming danger, triggering a vivid vision of something dark and unseen. She confides in John Faya, unsure of what the vision means, but he dismisses her concerns, stating that there are more immediate issues to focus on. Undeterred, Lyra goes to Ma to ask for permission to leave, needing time to explore this feeling further. Ma, after some thought, asks Lyra to wait for her decision. Meanwhile, William is busy packing things away in his locker as his mother leaves their home. Boreal confronts her, pretending to express sympathy for the loss of her husband. As she recounts the tragedy of her husband's disappearance during a storm 13 years ago, Boreal feigns sorrow, gripping her hand in a way that unsettles her. Rattled, she hurries off to find William at the boxing gym, where they have a tense conversation about the mysterious events surrounding his father. Lyra sits with Ma and speaks to John Fa's demon, seeking advice about the strange sensations she's been feeling. The demon hints at the stirring of something significant in the north, mentioning the polar bear King Iofor and the uncertainty surrounding their journey. Meanwhile, John Fa seeks out Seraphina, requesting her help with the looming and impossible task ahead. Their conversation touches on the Aurora and the Great War Asriel is preparing for. As night gives way to day, the group sets out once more. Lyra rides on Iorek's back across the vast snow-covered plains. Their journey leads them to a cave where they take refuge for the time being. William speaks with his mother about his father. She praises him as extraordinary, though her anxiety is evident as she begins to worry that someone has been in their home. After some time, she calms down and, in a quiet moment, reveals an envelope full of letters hidden away. As the evening light fades, Lyra and Iorek look down on a small, desolate fisherman's village. There, lying motionless on the cold ground, is Billy, but something is terribly wrong. His demon is gone. Lyra, in a panic, grabs his body and rushes back to camp, where she shows the others. Distressed, she talks to Lee about the true horror of what the gobblers are doing, equating the removal of a demon to the destruction of a person's soul. Ma weeps over Billy's lifeless form. Meanwhile, Boreal is piecing together the details of their lives. His investigation into John Fay's past uncovers the possibility that John may have known about the portal to another world. Boreal begins to suspect that John may have left behind clues, and the mysterious letters in the envelope Will's mother has could be a key to unlocking the next phase of this dangerous game. Later that night, the camp is infiltrated by assassins who begin killing the men one by one. Lyra, unaware of the danger, steps out to investigate. Before she can act, she's captured and taken away. In her captivity, she lies about her identity, claiming to be someone named Lizzie. Her demon, flying free, is the last thing she sees before being led into another room. The woman in charge speaks in a foreign language and prepares Lyra for some kind of procedure. When the woman opens a wardrobe, Lyra's heart sinks as she sees what's waiting for her. The same jumpsuit Billy had been wearing when he was taken by the gobblers, Lyra is escorted by one of the stern-faced women into a room filled with other children. Each of them wears identical outfits, and as Lyra scans the room, her heart skips when she spots Roger sitting at a table, eating quietly. Just then, the woman in charge bursts into the room and calls for Bridget, one of the girls who hesitantly leaves behind her food and walks toward a locked room, leaving the others behind. Meanwhile, Lyra questions the doctor about dust and the true purpose of their operation, specifically the gruesome process of separating children from their demons. Just as she begins to probe deeper, an alarm blares throughout the facility, and she's forced out into the courtyard. There she meets with Roger and quickly discusses their options for escape. Realizing they need a diversion, they start a snowball fight, distracting the guards long enough to sneak away, but they inadvertently stumble upon a horrifying sight, an entire room filled with stray demons, each one separated from its human counterparts. Terrified and disgusted by what they've seen, Lyra and Roger rush back to the safety of the other children. The situation takes a darker turn when Marissa arrives at the facility, demanding an update on the operation. She insists on a volunteer for the next round of experiments, and the tension in the room rises. Lyra, growing increasingly desperate, reveals to the other girls that Marissa is, in fact, her mother. With no choice, she agrees to hide under the bed and wait for her mother to pass by. Marissa inspects each of the girls with a cold, calculating gaze before finally leaving the room. But Lyra's ordeal is far from over. Shortly after, she's pulled from the other children and separated from Pan, her demon. Just as the machine to sever the demon bond powers up, Lyra screams for Marissa, and in an unexpected turn of events, she is released at the last second. Alone in the room, Marissa finally admits the truth: she is Lyra's mother. The experiment, she explains, is designed to sever the connection between humans and their demons in order to stop dust from causing emotional turmoil during puberty. However, Lyra isn't entirely helpless. When Marissa asks about the alethiometer, Lyra hands her a small soldered box. Inside, however, is a spy fly, one that fools her mother long enough for Lyra to make her escape. In a desperate bid for freedom, Lyra kicks in the fire alarm, setting off chaos throughout the facility. She races back to the children, instructing Roger to free those without demons. She then creates another distraction by throwing open the metal doors and blowing up the demon-severing machine. As the complex erupts into chaos, the Egyptians, alongside Lee Scoresby and E. Orrick, arrive just in time to break free the remaining children. A fierce battle ensues, with the sounds of fighting echoing through the facility as Lyra watches. Amid the chaos, a mysterious ghostly figure materializes, silently cutting down the soldiers, shifting the balance of the battle in their favor. Just as it seems the tides are turning, the figure disappears into the shadows, leaving Lyra and the others to wonder if it was Serafina Pekkala. As the fighting rages on, Roger and the demon-severed children finally appear, reuniting with Lyra. Marissa watches from a distance, slipping away unnoticed as the battle continues. Finally, after everything is over, Lyra and Roger get on Lee's balloon. Serafina Pekkala arrives and meets with Lee Scoresby. The two discuss Lyra's destiny, with Serafina revealing that Lee has a vital role to play in the conflict to come. She guides him in the direction of Asriel, knowing that his help will be crucial in the battles ahead. Meanwhile, John Faw leads the children away from the chaos, concerned about how their families will receive them after everything that's happened. They're changed. As they travel, Lee's airship is suddenly attacked by a group of cliffghasts, monstrous, aggressive creatures that threaten to tear the ship apart. Lee fights back valiantly, but in the confusion of the battle, disaster strikes. Lyra, caught off guard, tumbles over the side of the balloon, plummeting down. Lee watches in horror as she disappears into the night, his scream echoing in the air. Marissa is livid as she surveys the wreckage of the machine that Lyra destroyed, her fury barely contained. Stepping outside, she demands to know where Lyra is, but thanks to Lyra's quick thinking and her clever disguise as Lizzie, no one can provide any answers. Meanwhile, Lyra, having survived the fall, clutches her side and moves cautiously through the harsh terrain. Her journey is abruptly interrupted when a monstrous polar bear captures her, throwing both her and Pan into a cell within the palace. Here she encounters a scholar who speaks of the polar bear's history before she finally comes face to face with King Eofor himself. During their tense conversation, Lyra boldly declares that she is Iorek's demon, and knowing that Iorek is on his way, proposes a challenge. If she and Eofor fight one-on-one, she will become Eofor's demon. Using the compass to manipulate the situation, she manages to turn Eofor against Marisa, convincing him to agree to her terms. Meanwhile, Boreal crosses back into modern London through the portal, where he watches a video of John Perry speaking about writing letters. Boreal then returns to the house, confronting Elaine about the letters and the possibility of finding John alive. Elaine remains tight-lipped, refusing to show Boreal anything, and instead demands that he get a warrant if he wants access to the information. As Boreal leaves, he allows Elaine to glimpse his demon, which causes her to instinctively recoil in fear. Back at the palace, Iorek arrives and challenges Eofor to a fight. The two engage in a brutal combat, with Iorek emerging victorious. He addresses the clan of bears, calling Lyra Silvertongue and promising a new era free from bloodshed. Meanwhile, in a nearby cave, Lyra reunites with Roger and uses the compass to check on Lee. As the Magisterium prepares to strike, Marisa convinces Father MacPhail that she needs to come with them because she knows Asriel well. When Will and Elaine come back home, they see that their house has been broken into. Seeing this, Will takes Elaine and leaves her with a neighbor before going back. Meanwhile, despite the crash of his balloon, Lee is alive and well, greeted by Serafina, who hands him a gun as a reminder that the fight is far from over. At the same time, Will goes back to the house and grabs the letters after Boreal's henchman fails to find them during a break-in. But as he is sitting there, the men show up once again, but Will manages to push one of them before escaping with the letters. Back in the north, Lyra finally meets with Asriel, who, despite urging her to leave for her own safety, seems intrigued by Roger. As Marisa and the troops prepare for their attack, the aurora borealis shimmers in the sky, casting an eerie glow. Asriel, gazing at the spectacle, comments on the strength of the aurora and mentions that the child is now here. In the quiet of the night, Lyra sneaks out of her room with Pan and approaches Asriel to confront him about the truth of his parentage. Asriel, holding back his emotions, starts to speak of her mother, but quickly shuts down, reverting to his cold and distant behavior. Hurt by his rejection, Lyra adopts Iorek's name for herself, now calling herself Lyra Silvertongue. She clutches the alethiometer, unsure of her next move, but Asriel, after a brief pause, hands it back to her and retreats. Elsewhere, Father MacPhail speaks to Marisa about her loyalty to the cause, particularly given her connection to Lyra. Meanwhile, in the Magisterium, Boreal studies the alethiometer's messages and ponders a prophecy about a son. Could this refer to William? Back with Asriel, he prepares to leave in the dead of night, without saying goodbye to Lyra. In the bathroom, Roger expresses his concerns to Lyra about Asriel's behavior, noting how suspicious it all seems. After he was angry at her arrival, he calmed down when he saw Roger, and that was strange. Back in Will's house, Boreal is told that Will had escaped. The possibility that the prophecy could be referring to Will is enough to make Boreal take action, especially since no one knows where he's gone. He manipulates the situation, pulling strings to have the police search for him. Later, Lyra and Roger share a quiet moment together, sitting under a makeshift tent, talking and sharing a drink as the aurora continues to glow above them. However, Asriel soon wakes Lyra, eager to finally reveal the truth about dust. He explains that dust is a mysterious force that affects people during puberty, calling it an original sin that he believes holds immense power. Asriel suggests that Lyra should join him in his mission to uncover the truth about dust, leaving her to ponder her next steps. He then bids her goodnight and walks out. Boreal, in his car, reflects on the Tower of the Angels and the possibility that Will might be the key to unlocking its secrets. As he mulls over his next move, Will is on a double-decker bus, heading to an uncertain destination. Lyra is suddenly awoken by Thorold, who warns her that the Magisterium is approaching. In a panic, she rushes outside and calls for Iorek. The mighty bear answers her call, rallying his brethren for the impending battle. As the tension rises, Asriel leads Roger away. Foot soldiers arrive at the camp, marching in sync with Father MacPhail and Marissa, leading the charge. As the chaos unfolds, Marissa quickly pieces together Asriel's plans and looks through a telescope aimed at the sky, finally realizing the magnitude of what's happening. Thorold, however, stays behind, and with swift action, knocks out MacPhail holding a shotgun to Marissa. She scoffs at the weapon, her mind focused entirely on uncovering what Asriel has been doing. Back out in the snow, the battle erupts into violence, the air filled with the sounds of gunfire and chaos following Marissa's order to open fire. Snow is kicked into the sky as explosions tear through the cliffside, sending shockwaves across the battlefield. In the midst of the flames, Iorek grabs Lyra and races up the mountain. At its peak, Asriel secures Roger and forces him into a cage. Lyra, knowing the stakes, bids farewell to King Iorek, thanking him for his aid, before taking on the perilous path ahead to finish what was started. As Lyra ascends the mountain, Asriel takes the ultimate step in his quest for power. He sacrifices Roger and his demon, severing their bond. A brilliant beam of white light pours from the sky, striking the mountain and filling the air. Lyra is knocked down the mountain by the shockwave. The soldiers, stunned, lower their weapons, watching in awe as the light forms into a portal. As the light continues to surge, Asriel confronts Marissa. He sneers at her, declaring that the Magisterium's reign is over. With cold conviction, he turns his back on her, speaking of the sun in another world, and pleads with her to join him in creating a new Republic of Heaven. But she rejects his offer, and without hesitation, Asriel steps into the portal, leaving the world he knows behind. Meanwhile, Will is walking on the street alone, glancing left and right to see if anyone is following him. When he sees officers walking, he hides, evading being seen. Lyra, regaining consciousness, hurries up the mountainside and frees Roger from the cage, but it's too late. He's dead. Overwhelmed by grief, Lyra realizes that she's lost everything in this world. Together with Pan, they make a bold decision. They will enter the portal and find the dust before Asriel can. At the same time, Will follows a cat through a hidden space behind a fence, unknowingly stepping through the same portal that Boreal has been using, just as Lyra steps through her own portal. And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed our recap. Like the video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing recaps. See you in the next one.